What we doing, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. I'm your host, Trade. Today, we're talking about that weekend series. The Brewers just got through with the Marlins. We're going to be talking about that, and then we're going to be looking at the Badgers and also covering the Packers here coming up. What they had this last weekend, Packers got the win, Badgers got a win. So a good day or a good couple days for Wisconsin sports there. The Brewers, not so much. Clinched the postseason, but could not get the NL Central crown over the weekend there. We're going to be covering that here and what the Brewers have coming up here over the next last week of the regular season. So with that, right away, jumping into the Brewers. Friday took game one of the series versus the Marlins. 16-1 was the final score there. A big 12-run second inning for the Brewers was the difference in this one. In that second inning, I mean, the bats just broke out in a big way. Looking at the box score for that game, Christian Yelich, 2 home runs on the night, 3 for 4 night for Yelich. Contreras, 1 for 3 on the night there. Santana went 3 for 6. Cano went 1 for 4. Frelick, 1 for 4 night. Adames, 1 for 2. Donaldson had a 1 for 5 night with a home run. Terang, 2 for 5 on the night. And Perkins went 2 for 4. The Brewers offense showed out in this one. 15 hits in total, only 2 strikeouts in the game, 7 walks in total, and 16 RBIs. So some impressive work there, game one of this series. They're back to good performance from Corbin Burnes, starting in this one, 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 Ks. Burnes could have definitely gone a lot more in this one. I mean, 97 pitches over that 5-inning span there. But you sit in the dugout for a while there in that second, gives Burnes time. He was cooling off down there. It could have affected him out there on the field. Finally got some run support there from this lineup, though. Looking at the bullpen in that one, Trevor McGill, 1 inning pitch, 3 walks in his performance, but did not give up any runs. Looking down the line, Chafin came in for an inning, 1 hit, 1 strikeout. Then Bryce Wilson came in for an inning. He gave up 1 earned run in his appearance, 1 hit, 1 home run given up. And then Rowdy Tellez, shut her down, as he said, in a high-pressure, high-leverage situation. You just get in there and you get it done. And that's what Tellez did. 1 inning pitched, 1 hit, and 1 strikeout. And then, I mean, he's got the stuff. Cy Young candidate, I don't know. We can maybe talk about that one day with him. Looking at the Marlins on the flip side of that, Burnes and the bullpen did a pretty good job of holding the Marlins down in this game. 5 hits in total for him, 2 by actually Birdie. Birdie went 2 for 2 on the game. Soler had 1 for 2. And then De La Cruz 1 for 4, and Sanchez 1 for 4. The strikeout victim of Tellez, Jesus Sanchez, went 1 for 4 in this ball game. Looking at the pitching for the Marlins, Chargos went 2/3 of an inning, 2 walks on the game, and then Okert came in for 2/3 of an inning, 4 earned runs for Okert, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, 1 home run given up. Hoeing came in then for 3 innings, 10 hits given up, 9 earned runs, 1 strikeout, 1 home run. Soriano then came in there, an inning and 2/3, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and a home run given up. Cueto and Stallings then came in and kind of shut the door, as you could say, in this game. Cueto, an inning pitch there, nothing across the board for him. And Stallings, 2 innings pitched and 2 hits given up, but nothing across the board the rest of the way. Then looking at the rest of the weekend for the Brewers there, Saturday, that's where it started to get a little bit dicey here for the offense. 5-4, the Brewers lost game 2 of that series. Marlins took off in a big way right off the bat there. 3 runs in the first inning for the Marlins. That was the big difference in this one. The Brewers mounted a comeback there in the 6th and tied it. But then in the 8th, and that's where we're going to get to in a little bit, is we're going to be talking about Yoel Pampas. But he came in and gave up a earned run there in that 8th inning. That was the difference in this one late. In this game, though, Yelich 2 for 5, Contreras 2 for 4, Santana a 1 for 3 effort, Donaldson 1 for 3, Frelick 1 for 4. 7 hits for the Brewers in total. Used them all up on Friday night, as you like to say. 9 strikeouts in this game. The difference in this one, a lot of strikeouts for this Brewers team. Looking at the stat line for pitchers in this one, Woodruff started her 5 innings, 4 earned runs, 6 Ks, 1 home run. Milner then came in for an inning and a third, 1 walk and 1 strikeout. Uribe then 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit and 2 strikeouts. Pampas 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 earned, 2 walks and a strikeout. And then Chafin came in for a third of an inning there, and zeros across the board for Chafin. In this one for the Marlins, Arias went 1 for 5, Soler 1 for 4, Bell went 2 for 3 on this one. Looking down the lineup there, Berger 1 for 3, De La Cruz went 2 for 3 for the Marlins, and Birdie. He was killing the Brewers in this series, 1 for 4 effort from Birdie. Looking at their starter in this one, Luzardo, he had 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, and 4 Ks. Poop then had 1 inning pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, and 1 strikeout, 1 home run given up in his appearance. Moore then came in for an inning pitch, 2 hits, and then Nardi had an inning, and so did Tanner Scott. Both of them zeros across board, each with 2 strikeouts in this one. Brewers were shut down. Game 2 of this one, the performance game 1 really outshined the game 2 performance the Brewers had. And the starting rotation started to get shaky for the Brewers here. Woodruff and Peralta, as we're going to talk about in the Sunday game, they had some struggling performances there. Few earned runs here and there, and the offense could not battle for them to bring those games back. So with that, though, we're going to be jumping into the yesterday's game, Sunday. The Brewers lost 6-1 to the Marlins in that one. It was a big game for Birdie, another home run for Birdie in that one. Peralta took the loss for the Brewers. 3 innings pitched for Peralta, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 2 home runs. He just did not have the stuff. You could tell right away he was pulling pitches. It just was not there for Peralta in this one. It was a smart move getting him out of there early. At least before they pulled him, he kind of figured it out there a little bit, got himself smoothed out. And then Tehran went 3 innings, 2 earned runs, 6 hits, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts in his performance. And then Butkus came in for 2 innings, 2 hits, and a strikeout. He had zeros across the board otherwise for Butkus. In this one, the Brewers offense, they were hitting the ball. I mean, it's not like they weren't hitting. 8 hits on this one. Yelich 1 for 5. Contreras 2 for 4. Santana went 2 for 4 for this team. Adames 1 for 3. Terang 1 for 3. And Taylor went 1 for 4 in this one. The Brewers just could not produce in RBI spots or push runners into scoring position in this one. 2 walks in total, 12 strikeouts. Strikeouts were the big killer for the Brewers in this one. Looking at the Marlins, Jorge Soler went 3 for 5. Bell 3 for 4 day for him. Berger 2 for 3. Hampson went 1 for 2. Chisholm had a 2 for 5 effort. De La Cruz 1 for 4. Birdie 2 for 4 day for him. 3 RBIs and a home run. So Birdie was a big factor in this series for the Marlins. But with that, Brewers lost the weekend series to the Marlins. They clinched the postseason on Friday. Had a chance. They're all the magic numbers at 1 for this Brewers team. So they have a chance over this next week here to clinch the division here with the Cardinals coming up and then the Cubs. Hopefully see it as soon as possible for this Brewers team. Even with a clinching, the Brewers have to stay. I've seen a lot of people talking about Brewers have to stay focused. They have to stay in the game. And that's where I think not resting these guys, keeping the offense out there, trying to keep them hot, heading towards the playoffs. That's the best thing for this team. This offense goes so hot and cold. I worry about that heading down into the playoffs here is that this offense will go cold for you. But with that, I just want to look at tomorrow's game is going to be against St. Louis. So an off day today, St. Louis tomorrow, and then the Cubs to finish up the season here, the regular season for the Brewers. I wanted to look at different playoff scenarios, what it's looking like right now for the Brewers. Checking out the standings here, we'll look at the wild card. As of right now, the Brewers are in a toss-up with, you could get the Diamondbacks, you could also have the Cubs, Miami, or even a team like the Reds if they sneak in the back door. So who do we think is the hardest opponent for the Brewers come playoff time? I really do think 2 of them stand out to me a lot, and that is the Diamondbacks and the Cubs. The Diamondbacks simply because they're young, they're scrappy. We talked about this early on in the season when they were heading down to Arizona to play them. They're young, they're scrappy, and they're fast, and they can score runs on you playing small ball and everything else. The Cubs, I would say simply for the fact of when the Cubs come to town, American Family Field, almost called it Miller Park. American Family Field fills up with Cub fans. So it's not really a home series for the Brewers if those Cub fans get in there right off the bat. So with that's where I believe that the Cubs would be a tough game. Arizona would be tough. Brewers stacking up against the Cubs in this one. I do believe the Brewers have, if you look at it as pitching aspect, who's got the better pitching staff between the two, Cubs and Brewers. Brewers win that one. You look at a 3-game series, if the Brewers are thinking we're going to go into this 3-game series and we're going to take our top 3 guys, Peralta, Woodruff, Burns. You give me Woodruff and Peralta and Burns, and those guys are pitching like they normally do. Not these last couple outings, but you know what we've seen all season long. I take those 3 against most rotations in baseball. So in this one against the Cubs, I do believe that the Brewers have the better pitching than the Cubs in this one. Then the bullpen, looking at the bullpen, I do believe the Brewers have the better of the bullpens too. Looking at the Cubs here, just to pull up some of their stats here, you look at closer to closer, Devin Williams against Alzolay. That's how we'll say his name. I take Devin Williams. Better stuff, better movement on the stuff, more dominant. I mean, Devin Williams likes to put pressure on. He puts pressure on himself. He likes to put guys on, likes to work out of those jams. But I still think closer to closer, we got it. The only question mark I have with the Brewers right now, and this is going to jump a little bit off of the playoff scenarios, but setup man to setup man is the one that I am worried about with the Brewers right now. If you look at Yoel Pampas, this has been about the end of July into August. Pampas seems like he is just running out. He doesn't have the same gas that he had. He doesn't have the same movement. You look at, he hasn't really had a clean inning since August 2nd. And his velocity is down about 1.5 miles per hour, right around it. I mean, you look at it as the most career games he's pitched. In 2022, he pitched in 44 games, and right now he's at 68, I do believe, on the season right now. So just the jump up in games, is Yoel Pampas running on gas? And if he's running on gas, do we need to get somebody else in that 8th inning role right now? Whether it's Uribe, whether it's maybe testing the waters with Hobie Milner, I guess, to see what the situation is at that time. I just think that with Yoel Pampas right now, if the struggle continues, you cannot have to constantly have Devin Williams up on the back end of the 8th inning because you're worried you're not going to get to the 9th without putting him in. That's where my worry is right now with the Brewers bullpen is Yoel Pampas coming in the 8th. Do we need to switch up the 8th inning role? Maybe let Uribe walk into there. Uribe has been pitching good for the Brewers team this year. He's been pitching phenomenal for a rookie getting put into high leverage situations right when he showed up. So I really do think Pampas might be slowing down on us, and we might need to look in an alternate direction now for help in that setup role, whether it's Milner, whether it's Uribe, maybe a guy like Trevor McGill, as much as people don't like him, the high velocity. He's had some solid innings for this Brewers team. Maybe he's an option to go in there at certain times. It's going to depend on the scenario of where you're at. But I just worry with Yoel Pampas right now and the lack of productivity out of him that the Brewers are lacking in that setup role right now. But with that, I'm looking at going back to the Brewers and playoff scenarios. And I really do think I am looking at the Cubs and the Arizona Diamondbacks as the two toughest matchups for the Brewers. Lineup to lineup, I believe, looking at it, Arizona might have an edge a little bit if we look at, just to check out Arizona's hitting right now. Checking out. Oh, everything's so slow to load here. Checking out Arizona here. Let's look at them across the board. Arizona Diamondbacks right now, in OPS, they are ranked 17th. If we look at team batting average for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they're ranked 13th compared to the Brewers' 23rd. So that puts this Brewers team towards the bottom compared to these other teams. Even teams like the Cubs. The Cubs in team batting average right now are ranked at number 11 versus the Brewers, who are ranked down at 23rd. We look at team hits so far this season, 15th for the Diamondbacks and 12th for the Cubs. We go find the Brewers down here at 25th. Matchup nightmares for the Brewers won't come at the pitching staff, and that is looking at it across the board, who they have to face. Burns versus, say, Zach Gallen, or Burns versus Steele. You're going to get a solid pitching matchup. Our pitchers can go toe-to-toe with their pitchers. They can go toe-to-toe with their lineups. I'm worried about our lineup going toe-to-toe with Justin Steele in potentially a Game 3 of the wild card series, or this lineup going up against Zach Gallen in that same scenario. That's where my worry is with the Brewers. Not the pitching, but on the offensive side. Can the bats stay hot rolling into the playoffs here for this Brewers team? Looking at what the people are thinking, and somebody asked it, and I just was reading through it, and he said, who would you rather face in the wild card round in a couple weeks? Best of 3 in Milwaukee, Cubs, Marlins, or Reds? And it looks like somebody came in there, they said Marlins. A lot of people for the Marlins, actually. They don't want to face the Reds again. They don't want to mess with the Cubs again. I think the Brewers and Cubs would be an awesome series. I think it would be an awesome series to have in Milwaukee for that wild card series. Winner moves on to the NLDS. Loser goes home, bragging rights for the rest of the year. The setup for that would be something, but that worries me too, is that this Brewers team going into that, do we have the offense, and will the fans be able to out-compete the Cub fans in that stadium and not make it feel like the Brewers are on the road or at a neutral site? But that's where my two teams are right now that I would feel like the Brewers would have the most trouble with, would be the Diamondbacks and the Cubs. I think we can handle the Reds. I really do think we could take the Marlins. But looking at the other two, I think those would be the troublesome teams for the Brewers to face. Now looking at playoff roster. We're in the playoffs. We're going to have to throw together a roster. So looking at this Brewers roster in this one, I think catcher-wise, we have it figured out. Contreras, Caratini, those two are going into the playoffs with us. First base, I do think it's going to be Carlos Santana and Rowdy Tellez. We're not going to get – Santana's not going anywhere. Neither is Tellez. Looking at second base, we're going to carry Bryce Terang there at second, Andrew Monasterio as our filler. Third base, Josh Donaldson and Andrew Monasterio. Both Monasterio will be an option at second. He'll be an option at third. And then shortstop, you have your alternate between Willy Adames and Bryce Terang. Looking at the outfield, you're going to have your combination of Mark Canha, Frelick, Taylor, Yelich. Perkins, I believe, will be carried into the playoffs, and I do think Garrett Mitchell will fill in that last roster spot there. And I think they're going to drop Brian Anderson, and they will bring Garrett Mitchell up to the majors there for the playoffs at least. Maybe have his speed out there in the outfield, his speed on the bench. Maybe he gets some starts. We'll have to see. We're going to cover a little bit of what's going on in the minor leagues right now and see how Mitchell's doing down there just in a little bit here. But I do think Mitchell will get up and he will be on the bench for the Brewers in the playoffs. Looking at starter-wise, it's going to be your normal cast of characters there. Burns, Woodruff, Peralta, Wade Miley, and then I do think Adrian Hauser will round it out there. And then looking at the bullpen, this is where this is the one I don't know. I'm looking at, for sure, Devin Williams, Pampas, Uribe, Bryce Wilson, Milner. I wouldn't carry Andrew Chafin into the playoffs. I would not carry Andrew Chafin. It seems like every time he comes in, either it's a ground ball or he gives up 14 runs. It just seems like Andrew Chafin isn't the guy that we need coming out of the bullpen there in any kind of pressure situation in a playoff. I feel like he's going to be a liability unless if we're up 7-0 in a playoff game. But even then, Andrew Chafin still finds a way to give up runs. So that's where my worry is with carrying Chafin in. I would almost rather have Trevor McGill or a guy like Julio Teheran who can extend games for you in that bullpen there. I know you'll probably have Hauser out there, and you'll have the option in the wild card series of one of the other starters that is on rest to be able to come out there. But I do think Julio Teheran could fit in there instead of Andrew Chafin. And then Elvis Paguero is set to be back for the wild card series. Hopefully he is, because I do believe that Peguero will get that last spot there for relievers. So with that, that's what I think the playoff roster will turn out to be. But you never know with the Brewers what they're going to decide on that front. But we're going to jump over into the sounds real quick, because I just want to see how Garrett Mitchell is hitting right now down in Nashville. Pulling it up here. Looking at Garrett Mitchell right now, 32 at-bats. He's got 6 hits, 3 runs scored. He's got a triple down there, 2 walks, and a 188 average. So he's starting to get that average up, starting to hit the ball around. He's showing that he's still got the extra base hit bugging him. So hopefully that is good sign for the Brewers and Garrett Mitchell. Get him back up to the big league club. Maybe he fills in a bigger role than what we think there for the Brewers heading into the playoffs. There could be some minor league guys right now who could fill some bigger roles for the Brewers heading into the playoffs. Guys like Abraham Toro potentially getting up there, or looking at a guy like Owen Miller. He could potentially fill a role at the big league level and give them some production that they're looking for there. But that's what I got for the Brewers right now on this off day. Remember, no game tonight. Starting a series with the Cardinals tomorrow. I don't know. Check it out quick to see if the Cubs have a game tonight. 1 second. We'll check that thing out there quick. We'll see if they have a game tonight. The Cubs do not. The Cubs have an off day tonight, too, along with the Brewers. So even because with a Cubs loss or a Brewers win, the Brewers would clinch. I don't know if it is anymore, though, because of the playoff scenario. The Brewers' magic number is still at 1 to clinch the NL Central. So hopefully coming up here against the Cardinals, they can take care of business, get themselves in as the division winners, get that out of the way, and then roll into the playoffs there. Having that little party out of them, they can roll right into it. But no Cubs game tonight either, so nothing to root against. Cubs will take a series with the Braves there coming up. But with that, we're going to jump over into the Badgers. Badgers took a big game against Purdue last Friday. 38-17 was the final score there against Purdue. Wisconsin, they tried their darndest at the end there to try to blow this thing. 38-17, but that game got dicey in the fourth quarter. Purdue had shots. They had shots to be able to take opportunities in this game. And a couple picks later, Card threw 2 picks. And this Brewers team, Brewers. I'm still on the Brewers. My mind's all over the place. The Badgers in this one were successful in turning them away. The secondary looked better in this one. Secondary in this one covered up Purdue pretty darn well, actually. And I thought the front 7 for Wisconsin played good in this one. The Badgers did a good job incorporating. They played a lot. In this one, it was a lot of complimentary football. We'll check out the box real quick for this one. Looking at team rushing yards for the Badgers in this game, 195 compared to their receiving yards, 193. That's what you want to see in complimentary football there. The only bad thing coming out of this one, Chez Mellusi was injured. It looks like it's going to be a season loss for Chez Mellusi. Sucks to see for a guy who's battled injury and has battled his way back every single time. And he was looking to have a breakout year this year, and just it's popped. And prayers to Chez Mellusi. Hopefully it's a speedy recovery, and hopefully he gets back out there at some point here. Braylon Allen was the storyline in this one for the Badgers. 16 carries for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mordecai, 14 carries for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one. Mordecai also 17 for 27, 174 yards passing, 1 interception in this game. Will Pauling actually 1 for 1 on a trick play, 19 yards to Tanner Mordecai. Looking at the receiving front, Shimmer DK had a great game for the Badgers, 3 receptions for 67 yards. CJ Williams, 5 receptions for 56 yards. Will Pauling, 3 receptions for 26 yards. And then looking down the line there, Skylar Bell, 1 reception for 8 yards, and Bryson Green, 2 for 6 on this game. The defense played great for this Badgers team. Looking at total tackles in this one, Hunter Wohler, Preston Zachman, and Jake Chaney actually led the team there in total tackles and solo tackles, all with 7 and 4 across the board there. Looking down the line, I mean, the defense played good for this Badgers team in this one. Ricardo Hallman, 2 interceptions on the game, 28 yards returned on those. Kick returns for the Badgers, DK, 2 returns for 73 yards, a long of 39, so impressive work. So they got some playmakers on this team. That's what's exciting about the Badgers right now. What's not exciting is the offensive line. They played a little bit better in this game, so hopefully that's good signs for things to come off. They have a bye this week, so they get a week to get ready for their next opponent here coming up, and that will be, let's take a look here, Rutgers coming up here in 2 weeks' time. Looking at just the backtrack there, Malusi, forgot to mention it was a fractured fibula, and he will miss the remainder of the season. So prayers to Ches Malusi. Hopefully it is a speedy recovery. But Rutgers coming up 2 weeks from now, so the Badgers have a lot of time to get ready for this upcoming game against Rutgers. Looking over, we're going to jump over into the Packers real quick. And the Packers took a big win against the Saints, a come-from-behind win against the Saints in this one. The first half, leading into the third quarter, struggle for the Packers. They had the offense was moving the ball. It's just a lot of missed opportunities, miscues, fourth down plays, fourth down conversions that they could not convert in this one. And they took it all the way to the fourth there, and the offense lit it up then. Jordan Love looked good in this game, 22 for 44, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, that 1 interception on the game here. He also had 9 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. He had that big touchdown late there for this Packers team. He impressed there on that 2-point conversion late there. I did not know that he had it in his mind to flip it out there to Torrey. I thought he was going to take off for the end zone there. He kind of bailed out of the pocket and all of a sudden flipped it across. And it was like, oh, yeah, he knew he was there the entire time. In this one, Romeo Doubs was the leading receiver for the Packers. He had 5 catches for 73 yards and a big touchdown late there. It was a heck of a throw, but a really good catch on that play there. Jordan Love, the fade pass is not there yet. He doesn't have that finesse on the fade. He kind of throws it behind the receiver, he tries to mimic Brett Favre too much, throw it through the defender to the receiver. Not the finesse of Rodgers to go over the top. He'll get there, but that's all that I believe that he's lacking as of right now. Looking at the rushing for the Packers, besides that, I thought the screen plays were there. I thought the end arounds were there for this Packers team. I did not. They kept trying up the middle. And A.J. Dillon took the brute force there, 11 carries for 33 yards. He still isn't producing at what he should be or what we hoped for, but he isn't playing bad for this Packers team. We sent him up the middle there in that one. The middle was closed off. The Saints did a very good job of covering up the middle there, and A.J. Dillon ran right into that for majority of his carries in this one. Keyshawn Nixon on the offensive side had a 1 carry for 11 yards. That was an impressive. That's where I was talking. The end arounds, the trick plays, those plays were there. Outside the numbers were there for this Packers team. It's when they tried to come inside that everything closed off on them in this game. I thought the defense for the Packers played a good game here. Nothing really to take against them here. They had some defensive lapses at times, but I thought they played a pretty solid game there. I don't know if Derek Carr stays in this game for the entire game that it changes. You look at what Jameis Winston did coming in for Carr, 10 for 16, 101 yards. So Saint fans will say, well, if Derek Carr didn't get hurt, well, Jameis Winston didn't play terrible for the Saints in this one. Packers played a better fourth quarter. They had what happened to them last week against the Falcons. They flipped the script this week and did the same thing back to the Saints there. So Packers, big win. Badgers, big win. Brewers clinched the postseason, but they don't clinch the division quite yet. But we are going to get more into the Packers later on this week. We're going to talk a lot more Badgers, Packers. We're going to be talking Brewers because they're going to be playing for the division crown against the Cardinals, and then also playing to solidify what they have leading up into the playoffs here. Hopefully, we will see the Brewers get hot here for the remainder of the season. But with that, it has been great talking with you guys. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trace. Thanks for listening. Deuces, Brew Crew.